This is the Fujifilm X-E1, a 10-year-old mirrorless camera that holds up incredibly well and can compete with somewhat modern cameras. But this is not a camera review. I already made a full review and a setup video about this camera, and you can watch them right here. But if you are considering getting one of these, or just wondering what a quick summary from my review looks like, or what my reasons are for getting this camera, then this video is for you. Hi friends, welcome back. If you are new here, my name is Jorge. On this channel we talk about photography and filmmaking, merging creativity and productivity to live a fulfilling life. And in today's video we are talking about the top 5 reasons to get the Fujifilm X-E1. Most reviews and videos about the X-E1 focus mainly on the price and the sensor, but I do think there's a lot more than meets the eye with this camera. I do think the magic of the X-E1 is the sum of all its parts combined. Timestamps will be linked down below in case you would like to skip to another chapter, but for now, let's get started. This is one, if not the most important thing about the X-E1. I have mentioned before how the first X-Trans sensor has an organic film-like look that is very hard to replicate on newer, better cameras. Both the X Pro 1 and the X-E1 share the same sensor, and for the most part, similar image quality, and at least for me, it's very noticeable. This is one of those situations where people keep repeating the same things over and over again. The color science, the film simulations, things like that. There is some value to that, there is some truth to that for sure, but with this particular sensor, it really comes down to less is more. A sensor with limited dynamic range and how that affects the highlight roll-off. And this really works like a charm for me, since I only shoot JPEG, manual mode only, and expose for the highlights. It's very obvious when you compare it to newer cameras like my X100V for example. Everything's too clean, too sharp, and too clinical. I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a negative. If that's what you like and it makes you happy, then please, go for it. But hopefully you're starting to see why people like me really enjoy using these older cameras with the older sensors. It's not about being a snob or anything like that. It's about searching for a distinct look or image quality, a sense of realism that you don't necessarily get with newer cameras, at least not directly without editing the files. And now you know. You can pinpoint what it is, you can put your finger on what is it that makes these sensors look great with that organic look, a limited dynamic range, and how that affects the roll-off of the highlights. Regardless of whether you shoot in RAW, JPEG, or both, the film simulations are a great way to get into the Fujifilm ecosystem. That being said, I shoot JPEG only, manual mode only, I expose for the highlights, and I don't really edit my files. And the reason is twofold and is very simple. Playing with film simulations is just fun, it's very fun. Whether you're using the internal film simulations or you're customizing and creating your own, it's just a really fun process. You're exploring colors, you're exploring what the camera can do, and it's one of the joys of owning a Fujifilm camera. It creates this sense of exploration of color and the S-curve and makes you wonder what can you get in camera. The second reason is that I want to shoot with intentionality. I love street photography and I enjoy shooting this way. It's not a chore, it's part of mastering the settings and it makes me accountable to the results that I get or that I don't get. I want control over the look and the feel of my photographs, and shooting like that creates strong memories. I want to be able to flip through pages of my photo books and see my work and feel like it means something, at least to me. I have made a video about my street photography philosophy and how I like to shoot, and you can watch it right here. But for me it's about control. Thinking about what type of shot I want to get, the look, the feel, what types of memories I want to capture. And I'm not saying this is the way to go, that everybody has to shoot like this, no. But if you keep shooting in RAW with no clear goal or vision of what the photograph should look like, thinking that you can sit down later and post and magically make it better, and then fail to do so, then perhaps you should be more intentional with your craft, the way you shoot, and the things you want to accomplish. And film simulations are a great way to start. There are tons of film simulation recipes and presets online, like my very own custom black and white simulation recipe, specifically made for the first X-Trans sensor, posted on my website for free. Sites like Fuji Weekly are great for a larger library of simulations, including the main color simulation that I use, the fake classic chrome. And other sources like the X100p Instagram account, really cool stuff, go check it out. Links to all these sites in the description down below. This reason is very simple and it really comes down to personal preference, but both the location and the type of viewfinder are really important. This can really enhance your shooting experience. Most of the cameras that I have reviewed on this channel are a rangefinder style hybrid cameras, meaning that you can use both an optical viewfinder and the electronic viewfinder as well. But in order to keep the small size and the low cost when it was released, the X-E1 only has an electronic viewfinder. A rangefinder style viewfinder placed here versus 95% of all the other cameras placed here makes a more comfortable shooting experience for people like me that don't like to press their nose against the camera and get the LCD screen all dirty and oily. I also happen to be right eye dominant, so this in turn makes it a lot more comfortable to shoot, a lot more pleasant, and it just feels natural. But the most important reason is that when I live inside the viewfinder, there is no distractions. I'm 100% focused on what I'm doing, on what I'm trying to capture, and that, in turn, really helps me to shoot with intentionality. And listen, I understand that the majority of cameras, 90% or more, have a traditional placement for the viewfinder. But that is not by necessity anymore. People just got used to that form factor and never changed it. And some cameras like the Ricoh GR series don't even have a viewfinder, so this is something that will require exploration on your part, and you have to figure out if it matters to you or not. So, a viewfinder might not even be necessary for you or your style of shooting, but for me, it's a must, 100%. It's something that I need to be able to focus, to be able to stay engaged, to be able to dedicate my attention to what I'm trying to capture, so now you know. Fujifilm cameras are, for the most part, smaller than most mirrorless cameras. These have manual controls, knobs and dials that help you focus on the tactile experience versus navigating digital menus. Plus, the camera's just sexy to look at. However, the X-E1 and the entire X-E series by extension are actually quite small, even for Fujifilm standards. This is what the Fujinon 23mm f2 lens looks like on the X Pro 1. This is what the exact same lens looks like on the X-E1. The same with the 7 Artisan's 25mm f1.8 lens, and the same with the Viltrox 13mm f1.4 lens. This form factor and size is not for everyone, but if you're the type of person that is looking for a small, compact camera, maybe you don't want to be noticed while doing street photography, or maybe you actually want to graduate from a smartphone and you actually want to carry a camera, but you don't want it to be heavy and bulky, or perhaps you're tired of carrying your camera bag full of lenses that you never use. Whatever the case may be, if you're looking for a small, compact setup, then this is something that's going to matter to you. The last reason is that the X-mount is quite flexible. You will have fewer first-party lenses to choose from, but most of these lenses are very high quality, with a multitude of levels of price and quality within that category. But of course, that is just one part of the whole equation. You can also go with third-party lenses as well. From the cheapest, lowest quality possible, like the 7 Artisan's manual focusing lens for around $70, to a Viltrox lens, really high quality, while still keeping the price competitive at around $429. I have been testing the Viltrox 13mm f1.4, and this one really deserves a full review. Stay tuned for that. Last but not least, you can just adapt all film lenses and keep the manual film experience with a very low barrier to entry. All of that being said, the important thing is that you have the ability to change lenses. You have the ability to try new things. A very different experience from owning something like an X100 camera or a Leica Q camera, where you have a fixed lens and that is it. This last bonus reason is that the X-E1 is one of the most affordable Fujifilm cameras that you can buy today. This means that the camera is somewhat easy to find. I understand that some regions and some markets like the US will mark up the price of used items to make money that way, but here in Canada is fairly affordable and fairly easy to find. So, the X-E1 is a great option for either getting started with photography in general, or getting started with the Fujifilm ecosystem, or graduating from a smartphone, and I highly recommend it. As always, I'm curious to know what you think. Any of those 5 reasons speak to you? Anything else you would like to add? Share your thoughts in a comment down below. But that is it for today's video. If you found this video helpful or valuable, then please like and subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and join my free newsletter as well. Thank you very much for watching, for giving me your time and your energy, and good luck with your creative process.